Ladies and gentlemen, what a day it has been with a lot of conversations. I wait for Shail to join the show so that...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again. What a wonderful panel we have. All users of artificial intelligence, and of course, we'll start with Mr. Shashidhar here. He's the CTO of Fractal, a company that actually deploys a lot of AI for its clients to take data-based decisions. Shashidhar sir, what do you think is the level of AI acceptance in clients that Fractal addresses at this point of time? And how much of your work is at par with what your rivals are doing in the US?
So can you repeat the second part of the question, please?
I just said how much of the kind of work that Fractal does in India is at par with similar work done in the US by your competitors?
Sure. Thanks, Shailendra, and nice to be here with all of you here. So, in terms of the AI adoption, the first question that you asked, so we have seen a lot of stats which says a lot of AI adoption is still at nascent stages, and there is still a lot of gap between what it promises and what it delivers, right? So at Fractal, we have kind of looked at it very, very closely in terms of how to enable enterprises to adopt AI successfully, right? So, at Fractal, what we have done is, for any AI solution to be adopted, we need to bring in 4 distinct disciplines in an integral manner. One is the analytics, the right algos, then the engineering foundation, which helps scale post the experimentation phase. What typically happens is, post the experimentation phase, the enterprises are not able to scale it to different contexts, and as a result, the AI models stay in the experimentation phase. So how do we enable the models to scale on the back of sound engineering practices with data foundations? And then actually understanding the processes and the user needs, empathizing with the user. We call it the behavioral design. So we spend a lot of time before we even start on unearthing the analytical models. What does the business user exactly want? So we call it a decision backwards approach, and we ensure that we are able to kind of understand the moments of truth, the moments of decisioning patterns, and then work backwards from there to kind of integrate all the other disciplines, along with, of course, the domain statements that enterprises need to understand. So basically, all these 4 disciplines, moment we are able to integrate and bring it together in a cohesive manner, we are able to see the adoption increase significantly. So the number of, we have been providing consulting and building enterprise-grade AI solutions for the last 20-25 years. And that exploded at the advent of deep learning and neural networks way back in early 2010s, and now cloud and agentic AI. So it's been a fascinating journey for us. We have been keeping pace with the adoption of AI in the industry, and we see the uptick continuously increase. As soon as the accuracy kind of increases, the adoption increases. So we've been working on ensuring that algos are built for accuracy and scale.
Harsha, I want to come to you. In fact, it's music to one's ears, or one may call it music to AI ears, about your recent $15 billion investment that you have done of a new AI hub. Is this our pitch, Google's pitch, to make India not just as a user hub, but an innovation hub for the world?
Absolutely. First of all, extremely sort of delighted and proud for this sort of $15 billion investment for the first of its kind and largest AI innovation hub that was announced by our leadership. This would actually lay the foundational layer for infrastructure, compute, models, data sets to actually empower thousands of researchers and hundreds of startups to build the kind of AI solutions that we are looking for. Having said that, I would say that our journey towards building AI in India predates to 2019, where we set up the large foundational research lab on AI in India. And today, it's one of the premier AI research lab which works very cohesively and in an inclusive manner with the ecosystem on a number of projects on language, education, healthcare, AI, and so on. Lastly, I would say that bringing the best of AI globally, from whether it is from Google or the applied side of AI, to a country like India, and in fact for the rest of APAC, which is a region that I lead, is a part of our charter, and it's a mandate from our leadership, both in the region as well as globally. So just to summarize, I think helping build the foundational layer in terms of data sets, compute, models. So Project Vani, for example, is spurring the innovation on languages that is there. Open models like Gemma are another proof point that we are empowering the AI adoption and development in the country. Yeah. Working with the ecosystem to make sure that we not just provide them grants, funds, but work with them to develop solutions many times within India and for the problems of India. And some of them are actually today scaling up across APAC. So these are just a few of the examples. And I would reiterate to say, while the $15 billion investment is great, I think Google's commitment towards making India progress towards the Viksit Bharat 2047 goes way beyond in terms of AI.
Okay, that's great. So more investment probably coming in. But Dr. Shetty, I'll come to you there. We have money. We have investment coming in. Do we have the talent and skill to handle AI?
I thought you would ask me this question last, and the rest of them would speak, and I'd probably be talking about natural intelligence.
I'm on your side. Today I'm on your side.
Yes, there is a challenge for certain, because we as educationists, we come in from the floppy generation to the CD, to use of, projectors and ICT in the classrooms, and also moving beyond that into the apps as well as the technology and the tools that have come in today. But what really counts and what matters to us today is how ready are we in terms of ensuring that our facilitators, the teachers, the creators of these artificial intelligence experts are ready to take on these challenges. So that's a big gap. But then having said that, I think I come from a domain where we adapt ourselves very quickly. I do remember when we had the CD boom that happened, our teachers would say that in the nursery level, children would say, why are you singing a song like Hickory Dickory Dock when you can actually use a CD and play it, right? So teachers have gone through that kind of, what shall I say, a stage of adaptation. And today, of course, you are dealing with students who are, far more aware than what teachers are aware of. And to bring in a world where we were always talking about natural intelligence, we were always talking about critical thinking, analytical thinking, to actually induct an artificial intelligence is quite a challenge. But I think COVID taught us a lesson or two, and I'm sure that the educators of the future would be able to adapt to it quicker in order to create many more experts who can come up on a stage like this and talk on and bring in more ideas.
Okay. Let's get Kshitij into the conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Kshitij works for a company called Pixxel. He has a lot of satellites running in orbit, which keep on taking pictures of all of us.
You look great, by the way, in the photos from space.
Actually. So tell us, Kshitij, how has life changed for Pixxel after this AI boom has come in? Your photographs are helping companies in the forestry business, in agriculture, in metals and minerals. You take a lot of photographs. How are they improved over the last 1 year or so?
So we are a company born into the AI boom in some sense. 2018 is when we came up with Pixxel, and that's around the time when we were also going through this paper on GANs by Ian Goodfellow. And after GANs came into the scene, everything just exploded. We started looking at these super resolution SR GANs that were used on satellite imagery to increase the resolution. And that's kind of how we got into our journey of seeing that satellite imagery, which was typically the domain of intelligence experts who wanted to know where something is, getting into a zone where you don't need a person to analyze the data. You could have an algorithm looking at the data and identifying a particular aspect of that data for you. For example, if you're looking at a field, you should be able to identify what the crop on the field is. If there's a disease, you should be able to identify what the disease is. So the founding story of Pixxel was that we will build satellites, hyperspectral satellites, which instead of looking at just the image of the Earth, look at the surface chemistry of the Earth. And through that spectral intelligence, through looking at the surface chemistry of Earth, we are able to identify and classify different things. So the last year has been a lot of satellite imagery coming down. And what we're now trying to do is build time series models. For example, let's say you're growing a crop in a particular region. Let's say you're growing a crop in Punjab, and you want to see the progress of the crop over its growing cycle. You can take an image every 2 days, every 3 days, see how the crop is progressing, and have a prediction model for the yield that you will get out of that crop. And you know, I know what the value of knowing the potential yield of a field is. So I think these are some of the ways in which we integrate machine learning models into our nominal workflows, and that's the kind of solutions that we provide.
Well, Shailendra, interestingly, actually, I was just talking to Kshitij, and Pixxel has been working on finding certain rare earth metals in parts of Rajasthan. And you know, if you see how we've been covering the auto sector and the slump that we've been seeing because of our dependence on China, could you please share something more on that?
Absolutely. So one of the advantages of looking at spectral information is each chemical, each surface property has a spectral signature associated with it. So you can look at that signature and identify what that chemical is. When you're looking at a part of land with different types of soil on it, you should be able to identify what the mineral composition of that soil is. And even though topsoil is not usually a good marker of what's underneath it, you can identify a lot of good things when it comes to rare earth minerals. So there are indicators that we've identified in Rajasthan, in the region of Savannah, where there are neodymium deposits. Neodymium is integral component of magnets and a rare earth mineral as well. So that's one example how we are looking at mineral exploration. We do this in Australia as well. There's a bunch of mines where we try to look at existing mines and see what the regions in that belt are to find good copper, to find good ores of iron oxide and other minerals also.
You know, Karishma would be more interested in finding about how much gold and silver reserves that we have in India, given the way prices have moved.
Yeah, but I want to plus one to the use of AI for agriculture. A couple of years ago, I was giving a demo of the Anthro-Krishi, which is the agricultural platform, to Prime Minister. And after listening all that, his first question was in Hindi, "ये सब ठीक है, but क्या आप पूर्वानुमान लगा सकते हैं दामों का? Can you predict the prices of onion?" Right? And an amazing thing, we took it as a challenge, and starting from the hyperspectral imagery, all the way to tracking what is the yield, what is the area. And India is specifically unique because the land holdings are very, very small. So the traditional satellite imagery won't work. So we have to develop customized solution within India, which a lot of labs are doing, all the way to mandi prices and correlate it. And hopefully we are able to elevate and remove the food scarcity, not just for India, but countries like in Africa.
Shashidhar, to you. You know, artificial intelligence is supposed to level the field between a David and a Goliath. So when you come up with, say, knowledge-based data and all those information for your clients, how do you think a small company can maybe hyperscale its business over the next 2 or 3 years using artificial intelligence? Is that even possible, or does it happen only in storybooks?
We just heard, Kshitij talk about Pixxel. I think we have a case here where a company which actually just started about 7 years back has made a humongous impact on some of the problems that could be solved at population scale, right? So I think the advent of agentic AI and the knowledge base across the globe, right, if you will, has opened up possibilities like never before, right? In fact, one of the McKinsey reports recently said 95% of the AI fails in large enterprises. And one of the reasons that was quoted was enterprises are trying to kind of solve this problem in-house. And they have a huge legacy workforce, huge legacy set of tools, technologies that are working at play, and they're not able to kind of break free from the traditional thinking to kind of reimagine their business processes and bring in agentic AI ways of working, right? I think the startups provide that inspiration to the enterprises to kind of drive new possibilities. And that is, I think we are seeing that significantly now. There is so much energy and possibilities that are coming through the startup ecosystem. We have seen significant number of startups coming into play and then kind of opening up new doors, right? Like the payment gateways, like OpenAI recently kind of reimagined the entire payments ecosystem for the e-commerce world, right? So the way OpenAI is actually challenging the large enterprise, that itself is a great indicator of the possibilities that these technologies provide. I think for enterprises to succeed and realize the full promise of agentic AI, the startup ecosystem will be critical. I think one of the gentlemen in the previous conversation said, right, about from 50 use cases, one might succeed. But I think those possibilities are increasing day by day. And I certainly feel, if we are able to kind of infuse that startup talent into the legacy enterprises, the possibilities are limitless. So I think it's a great opportune time for startups to focus on how enterprises are currently kind of built, and how do we break the traditional constraints, the traditional lack of enterprise nature to kind of try new things. I think that leap of faith has to come into enterprises, and startups can make that happen.
Right. Leap of faith and the right time, a golden opportunity to implement, learn also. Dr. Shetty, I want to come back to you on this. Backstage, we were having this conversation on how AI, since the beginning, has seen a very unconventional gender participation. Tell me, in terms of the psychic, are there a lot of women participating, wanting to learn the skill, wanting to support the skill?
Of course, yes. I mean, I don't think there's any kind of a difference in opinion on that, because I see a lot more girl students, specifically at the university level, a lot more girl students enrolling for programs, where they can actually challenge the other gender and ensure that they are one up on the rest of them. In fact, there were days when we would worry about some of the programs being very gender specific, but no longer is that, a truth. I mean, it's more of a myth now, and we have many more girl students who participate in it.
Harsh, a question to you. We've often, heard this simile and examples where lesser number of people and employees are now needed to set up $1 billion corporation. I mean, for instance, earlier companies would take great pride in getting themselves clicked in a large lawn with the number of people who would work for them, and then mention the turnover per employee as well. Now, because of advent of technology and the march of artificial intelligence, we are probably headed for a time where a single person corporation would give a turnover of $1 billion. Do you think that's going to be a reality soon against the backdrop of artificial intelligence?
So let me answer it in the following manner. I think we all understand that the nature of jobs and also correspondingly of the skills are definitely changing. And anyone with the sort of AI skilling that is required is able to generate a lot more value. So that's on one side of the equation. The other side is AI, look at some of the models that could potentially be used by humans to solve the root node problems, whether those are in terms of agriculture, health, material science, fusion, quantum. Now, these are frontiers that would be scaled only with a human deploying the best of sort of AI today. And then the last thing I would say is, at least from a very responsible AI standpoint, the way, for example, Google looks at it, there's the AI skilling part that we have to ensure. It's a great leveler, for example, as ma'am said. We hope that there are a lot of secret superstars in AI born every day. And then the second is to prove that AI in education is better than an education without AI. And there are a lot of efficacy studies that are happening right now as we speak to prove that students equipped with AI will achieve a lot more in terms of productivity. So hopefully the pie and the whole system will become a lot bigger, and people will have to adapt like we always have. I always believe humanity will rise above and adapt to that.
Yeah, but in terms of that, and maybe you and Dr. Shetty both could contribute to this, do we have enough support from the government in kind of supporting this whole, I mean, I know they're big on it. The India AI mission is also an example.
Yes.
But when it comes to the skilling part of it, because that requires mega investment in terms of infrastructure.
Oh, I'm personally a big fan of that entire India AI mission, and I see it like we work with the ministries, all ministries, and they are so supportive, bullish, both in terms of resources. Obviously, looking at the big tech companies and even the startups to bring in the skilling at scale. We recently did a large-scale program for the government employees, starting from the AI fundamentals. And the second thing is just train the trainer. Take up like thousands of teachers that are there, skill them in AI, and then they will further skill. So I see almost every department, every ministry, beyond METI and the usual ones, actually propelling us, inviting us for the AI skilling that we have not seen at any level before. So, but yeah.
I would say that when it comes to the kind of government resources, I think the rural public is still not impacted in a big way. But with the urban private, students today, specifically with private universities like us, the exposure to this kind of toys and tech is far more than, when it comes to the rural setup. Having said that, I think it is the urban students who get a lot more awareness to it because of the kind of location advantage that they get, the geographical advantage that they get, and with companies that come forward, to work on it. But it is high time that the government actually invested in the rural, right from K-12 to the higher education part of it. Because what we notice, as a university, because we work with both the government meritorious students as well as the ones who come in from the private, set up from affluent schools and institutions. You notice that there is that kind of an effort, that additional effort that a rural student puts in, that kind of consistency, that kind of, very, very committed and the kind of effort that they put into it, that it is second to their skin. Right? While the urban students may be a lot more smarter when it comes to their work, these are the ones who are the hardworking ones, the hare and the rabbit kind of a thing. But yes, there needs to be a lot more investment that comes in, and from companies like all of you, if you look at Stanford or a UCB for that matter, you have clusters of these companies who work with them. One of the speakers spoke about Sam Altman. He comes from a history of that Y Combinator. So the youth actually are working in these campuses, and it's time that, companies partnered with them to ensure that they work with these students, bring out their talent, and whether it's a government or, semi-government or a private part of it, allow this a kind of exposure to all the students, irrespective of where they come from.
Getting Kshitij into the conversation, often it's said that the backbone of the Indian economy is agriculture and the farmer is its soul. When companies such as Pixxel try to change the landscape of this dissected agriculture market that we have, small holdings, higher input costs, you have a problem in selling their agricultural produce over different time zones. Do you think, companies like you can make this difference over the next 5 years to bridge this digital divide?
I think we absolutely can. And when we talk about people in rural India being AI literate, they don't really need to be AI literate. They just need applications that they can use, which have AI behind them. And this is nothing to do with satellite imagery, but in my village, when I go to the farm, I have seen, the people in different farms use their phones to identify a picture of the crop, send that to that particular app, and be able to understand, okay, fine, this is the health of the crop, and so on and so forth. They take pictures of the soil, they send it to field survey folks at the Krishi University, just so that they can then analyze and then get back, okay, fine, this is what you need, this is what you need. So a lot of that adoption is already beginning to happen. And when we look at Pixxel's impact, it's more macro than micro. So when we take an image with our satellite of a certain region, we are not like a drone that would take, a taluk in the span of a day, and then you'll have to get a couple guys to do it again after a couple weeks, and so on and so forth. We take hundreds of thousands of square kilometers every single day. Imagine being able to image all of India every single day with the satellites. The kind of information that you'll be able to generate, the kind of models you'll be able to build, predictions that you'll be able to do, will eventually impact the efficiency that farm output will have. So you are making sure that you give the inputs not at the farmer level, but maybe at the ministry level, maybe at the level of these companies that make fertilizers, companies that make seeds, in the level of, these bachat guts, these farmer groups that are formed. And you can work with organizations who work with these people to improve the efficiency of the output. Second, you can also do a pretty good job when it comes to agriculture in identifying which crop is missing. So the yield of a particular crop being low is also a big issue when people start going for cash crops and such. So I think fundamentally, yes, the impact in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be immense, tremendous, not just with Pixxel, but all other companies as well.
Right. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this panel. Thank you for all on the panel for this wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please also request Masuma Parekh to come up on stage and present a token of appreciation to all our distinguished panelists. Warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for all our panelists. Time for our next power-packed discussion and session. Our next session is titled AI and Karnataka's Roadmap for Innovation. At this conversation, we're going to be having the Honorable IT